Hey, welcome to Straight Talk today. We're going to be talking about some pretty heavy things today. We're going to be sharing a lot about what's happening in the Middle East. A lot of people don't realize that we're having a situation that can turn out to be a real heavy situation. So we'll be right back. So here we are back, and I guess everybody has some questions about what's happening in the Middle East, in Israel. I've been to Israel 30-some times, and it's been a real neat situation. I went there when they were fighting against Lebanon, and I remember the military asked us as a veteran to go with them to see what was happening, and it was just a real experience for me to go there, but also to look at Israel. And to see what Israel's going through big time. I mean, right now, it's just bad. I mean, you've been watching the news, right? And you've been watching to see what's going. What do you think is going to happen, there in Israel?
Well, I think escalation is going to happen.
So you think there's going to be a war?
Oh, yeah, I think they're already involved in the war. It's our involvement that everybody's waiting to see what takes place. But and as a Christian, and I'm speaking to every Christian that may be listening this morning, we have an obligation, and to keep our eyes on Israel. Yeah. People want to argue over
be critical.
Critical, and who's right, who's wrong. Listen, right now, keep your eyes on Israel. Pray for Israel. Why? Because those are God's people.
Yeah.
We're part of all that. And I mean, Jesus was born in Israel. He lived in Israel. All the miracles, Israel.
Right.
He died in Israel, resurrected in Israel. And the most important thing, he's coming again to Israel. How important is it to you? How important? I know the way you are, Raul, with Israel. I think
they're my family.
Yes. They are family.
Yeah.
And whether they're doing things right or doing things wrong isn't necessarily the point.
I got real cousins over there too. My wife has cousins.
That's right. That's right. They did, and they lived there. They gave their life for Israel, and their children are in the military in Israel. But we all, collectively as Christians, we should all be supporting them. And what drives me crazy is so many that aren't.
Yeah.
They want to make this a political agenda. They want to make this something that it isn't. Believe me, this is satanic.
Yeah.
This is demonic.
Yeah.
What took place in Gaza isn't anything short.
It's not normal.
It's not normal. No. They cut off heads of babies.
Babies, man.
They took the women and the children. This morning you were talking to us about the Amalekites. The Amalekites is the type of the flesh.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's taking place now. The Amalekites attacked Israel in the wilderness from their most vulnerable place, the women and the children, the stragglers at the end. And that's exactly what Hamas did.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Hamas did. And they took the weakest of the weak, and now there's a price to pay for that. I don't understand, Raul, why the United States has such a large number of people wanting to defend evil.
I know.
Defending evil, and not just ignorant people. These are the academics. Yeah. One thing that really, angers, I should anger everybody, is that from our institutions of the highest, highest institutions of learning, the Harvard, the Yale, Columbia, the Ivy League schools, Stanford, they all have their demonstrations going on pro-Palestine.
Yeah.
And they don't even know the name Palestine. There really is no Palestine.
But you know what? The thing about it is that, as I was thinking today, that these people that are here, they're citizens here now, that they wear their flags, they have all their attire, You know, and we've never seen that before. I mean, this is America, the land of the free. The Mexicans have their flags. You know what I'm saying? You were in China or in those countries, they were not allowed to have your little flag. You know, and to go down the streets and say things that they shouldn't be saying, and bringing people into this whole thing where there could be a little warfare. You know, this could happen. I mean, if I wasn't a Christian, I would be thinking, you know what? We need to go down there and we need to take care of these people, because this is America, the land of the free. Don't you think so?
Yeah, I think looking at what's taking place in our world today, it's something, you know, we've always been said, Pastor Dale mentioned it right now, when you want to understand prophecy, keep your eyes on the nation of Israel, and it's so true. You guys have been to Israel multiple times. I've been there a couple times, and it's life-changing going there and seeing just the history of the nation of Israel. The fact of the Israel being in existence today is a miracle. From the beginning of time, the enemy has always tried to wipe them out, whether it was the Egyptians or whether it was the Babylonians or the Assyrians and the Romans, so much.
Arabs.
And then in our more recent history, of the Nazis in Germany and the Holocaust.
6 million.
6 million Jews. I was doing like a little history lesson with my family and my children the other day of kind of going through the Holocaust and the damage and what was there and the deception that was there. Because what we are seeing across our nation and our institutions is something that has been awakened or has been revealed, and that is a hate for the Jewish people and the nation of Israel. There's a blindness, and there is a battle between good and evil. It's not to say that Israel is perfect and has no errors. No. We've seen it through the Old Testament as well. Oftentimes the Lord would discipline his people.
They don't even believe in God.
Yeah. But with it being said is that God is not done with Israel.
Yep.
You know, for me, and I know for you guys too, going through the Bible right now, it's just everything's a little bit different. Mm-hmm. I'm teaching through the book of Romans on Sunday evening, and it just so happens I'm going through chapters 9, 10, and 11, which is the past, present, and future of the nation of Israel. And they're standing in their opportunity of salvation. This is a time in our history that I think is going to shape a lot of things in the future. Yep. And as you, Raul, you've been teaching on the last Sunday mornings of going through Ezekiel 37, 38, 39, we're seeing it prepare that way. We're seeing the reality. We've always heard it said before, the nation of Israel, the small land, is surrounded by enemies that hate them, that despise them. Mm-hmm. And we are seeing these early birth pains, or what's going to be taking place in the future.
Yeah, you know what? Pastor Chuck was a great teacher of that. When we went to Calvary Chapel, I used to wonder, how come he knows so much about the future, you know? Yeah. And of course, Revelations, Daniel, he would take him in depth. And then to go over to Israel and see the hate for Israel. When I used to go to Bethlehem, I don't know if you remember, there was no fence. You know, and they put a fence up because on the other side, the PLO, they were shooting at those apartments. So they had to protect themselves. And when you go over there today, you can still feel that hate. You know, you can feel that hate. That here is Israel, have allowed them, like we've allowed people to come here, you know, to make up their minds. You want to be an American or you want to be whoever you are. And if you're going to be an American, then act like an American. You know, don't come here create problems for us. And if you're listening, if you're part of that group, you know what? Then you need to go back home. You need not to be here in America, bottom line. You know, we're Christians, but we also believe in truth. You know, we're not going to put up with sin. We're not going to put up with things that are going to bring confusion to the church, to our country, to our nation. Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely, Raul. You know, and unfortunately, they're doing something that we're not doing.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is they're teaching their children to hate. Mm-hmm. To hate.
Yep.
You know, one of the things that I noticed when they did the initial attack into Israel, and they filmed Gaza and the celebration that was going on, and they had children on their shoulders holding guns.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They had them holding guns. And I'm thinking to myself,
training them.
What are you teaching your children?
Yeah, training them.
And that's why from generation to generation there's so much hatred. And it's not against the religion. It's not against the Jewish religion. Yeah. They hate the Jew.
Yeah.
And that's what they're taught to do, is to hate the Jew.
Yeah. Like Hitler.
I just don't understand wrong. I don't understand that hatred for a people. You can say whatever you want to say. That land
belongs to Israel.
Was Israel from the beginning.
From the beginning.
God had promised that land. Abraham,
Yep.
Isaac, Jacob. That land was theirs.
That's why he kicked them out of Egypt.
and it's not arguable.
Right.
Where do they go if they don't have Israel?
Nowhere.
What do you think of when you think of Israel?
Yeah.
That's a powerful people.
Yeah.
And there's a divine covering over them.
Yeah.
And that covering is going to make the difference one day.
It's
I don't
so
care.
little.
Yeah, because like right now, and you know, you and I were talking about the threats made against Israel just recently, you know, by the Hezbollah, by Iran.
Uh-huh.
If, you know, the Americans do anything, well, and then it was Graham that got up and said, you know, if Iran does anything, then we're coming after you.
Yeah.
And I tell you, that's how wars begin.
Yeah.
That is exactly how wars begin.
Yeah.
And they both have the thought that we can win.
Yeah.
They can't win. They can't win. And you know what? It's not, and some people say, well, you know, you think you have God on your side. Well, they have Allah on their side. It's like, no. I don't have God on my side.
Strength, man, power.
I'm on God's side.
Yeah.
God's way. You know, you can read your Bible and find the way, the truth, and the life.
Yeah.
You from the beginning to the end is Jesus. Jesus was a Jew.
Yeah.
He came from Israel.
Yeah.
And Israel will stand, and Israel will survive. And you were teaching out of Ezekiel 39 this past Sunday. And if people listening haven't listened to Raul's teaching, especially the last 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, 37, 38, and 39, listen to it. I think there's insight to what's going on. And I like you, Raul. You're not saying, well, this is it. This is, you know, get ready for the rapture, or, you know, this is the battle before the rapture, or this is Armageddon. No. People are trying to make money on that one. I think. They're going to be writing a lot of books out there.
You hear a lot about that.
You hear a lot about that. No, this is about right and wrong. This is about right now. This is about right. What's right and what's wrong. And
living in the present right now.
I want to be on God's side.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to get up there and say, well, God's on our side.
Yeah.
And, you know, we win because God's on it. No, God isn't on our side.
Yeah.
He has his side.
And that's why I cover it.
And he welcomes everyone to be on his side.
And that's why I cover the past of Israel, how they haven't accepted the heathens, and God is punishing them, and God is getting them to a place one day they're going to look up and say, you know what, you are Jehovah, Yahweh, our God. Yeah. You know, and that's going to be an incredible open door for them and the world to see. Yeah. That's what happened. And he says that in Ezekiel 39, where he says, God says, they're mine, and you're not mine. I'm going to take care of you. You know, remember that?
Yeah. You know, one thing that I've just been thinking about over the last couple of weeks, and I think we can all agree, that we are in a battle of truth in the days we're living in today. The battle of deception. You know, and whenever you go through Matthew chapter 24 for future events, the first thing Jesus talks about, beware that you are not deceived. Yeah. And we have the power of so much information that is out there. It could be skewed in so many ways. You repeat a lie enough, it can be perceived as truth to some people. Mm-hmm. And we've seen this, believe it or not, there are people that tried to deny the Holocaust didn't even happen. How can that be possible? There are images, there is footage, there are eyewitness testimonies, there is historical things that we have seen from history, but people challenge these norms if you say it enough. And so when we're talking about this current situation of Israel, you guys have family, you have family. Me and Ryan have a close friend of ours that lives there. Her husband is a police officer. 5 of her nephews are now, serving. There are other people on the ground, and everyone's saying the same things. The things that they saw, of the atrocities that took place when Hamas came into that land is demonic. Yeah. It's evil. You see the way that people speak about it. Beheading children, raping young women, raping grandmas, destroying homes, kidnapping them, parading them, some of them in the street, taking them hostages. 1,400 people like that. I mean, this is, And as they have already said, this is the greatest massacre that has taken place since the Holocaust.
Yeah.
Holocaust, 6 million.
Yeah.
Second, and this is only second to that. The people need to be focused on that reality. The biggest thing of all these crazy protests all over the place is they are skewed in their thinking.
Yeah.
It's one thing to have a heart for people, right? The people, the Palestinian people or whatever. But when you do not even equate the reality that what sparked all of this off was these demonic, evil atrocities to the Jewish people and to the nation of Israel. You are being used by the enemy as speaking lies of deception.
Yeah, and think of people, they don't see that like that.
Yeah.
They see, well, there's another riot, whatever it is.
Right.
But this is something eternal, and this is something spiritual. It's not just carnal, this is spiritual. Like I think you said, right now, the devil and his demons, imagine how many of those people that kill babies are possessed. Think about that. And for me, it's been like God gave them up already. This is the unpardonable sin. They'll never be able to, they're going to have to be taken, their lives have to be taken because they're giving the right to other people that are there to kill people, to kill babies, to kill mothers, to kill, sons, daughters. And I wonder, Israel, they're watching this whole situation is going on. And today they said they're making their entry. They're going in, and they know they're dug in. And when I say dug in, the enemy is dug in, waiting for them to come, and then to take them down. But Israel already knows that. And Israel, one thing about Israel, they got God. Maybe they don't think they got, but God is with them, And God's going to clean land. Like I said yesterday, God's going to clean the land. And when God cleans the land, Israel will go back to their peace. But at the same time, there's other battles coming, and Israel doesn't see that biblically.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the battle doesn't end.
Yeah.
And it's going to continue on. And it's the battle between good and evil.
Good and evil.
I agree with you 100%, Raul. It's a spiritual nightmare that's taking place right now in Israel. I don't. I hate to repeat myself. I just don't understand this side that is pro-Palestinian right now.
Yeah. What do you think about these people? What's going to happen to them?
Yeah. It's Israel, like you said, is surrounded by Palestinian states, by Palestinian countries. Those Palestinians that Israel gave land to. The West Bank and the Gaza Strip, or Palestinian under Palestinian authority. They have a place to be. Where do they expect Israel to go? Because I remember when Ahmadinejad from Iran said, we don't want to spare them. We want to push them into the sea and annihilate them.
Yeah.
And I think that's in the heart of every Hezbollah. Well, I'm certain there's good Arabs out there. People forget there's Arabs that are Israeli Arabs. They live in. I've been to Israel many times.
They made the choice to live with there.
And they're there, and they live in peace, and they work alongside one another. And I'm sure there's some deep friendships there between the Arab and the Israeli inside of Israel. They have that opportunity, but they can't hate the way they want to hate, and just disallow the Jew to have anywhere to go. Where do they want to send them? And here's the weirdest part to me. Well, why don't they just go into all those countries that surround them? They're all Palestinian. They're all Muslim countries. Go into those countries and let Israel have their country. It's the size of New Jersey.
Yeah, that's it.
And not even that big now, because you cut out the West Bank and you cut out the Gaza Strip. They've given up a lot. They've given up a lot, and they've allowed themselves to be in danger by allowing, Hamas and in the south and in the north, Hezbollah to exist. Now it's coming to a head, but they don't. The Hamas and Hezbollah don't just want Israel to be Palestinians.
So how
they
far
want
do
to
you think,
kill the Jews.
Yeah. So how far do you think that Israel is going on this war?
Oh, I think it's no holds barred.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a bus driver telling me in Israel one time, and he was a Jew, and he was in the army,
Yeah.
and he said, the United States doesn't know how to negotiate.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember.
We know how to
Yeah.
negotiate
Yeah.
with terrorism.
With terrorists, yeah.
Now Hezbollah and Hamas are
Yeah.
terrorists.
Yeah.
And he says you put your hand on their throat, you push them up against the wall, and you put a gun to their head,
And you shoot 'em.
and you say, if you move, I'll kill you.
Yeah.
Now there's no more negotiations.
They said that.
Yeah,
They said
when that happens, the person who has the gun pointed to their head doesn't ask,
No,
are
he
you going to
shoots.
shoot me?
Yeah.
No, there's no question. You know.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen.
And that's what they're going today
I
into.
think that's
Yeah.
what's happening,
Yeah.
Ron. I think
Yeah.
Israel is
Fed up.
doing
Yeah.
what they've always done.
Yeah.
How do you think they won the 6-Day War?
Yeah. Like that.
Outnumbered. How do
Yeah.
you think they've won every battle they've been in?
Yeah.
When surrounded completely by countries that hate them.
God's behind them.
And God has given them wisdom.
Yes.
And He's given
Very
them the
wise.
strength. They're some of the most tenacious fighters in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
And they have, just hundreds of times when they've been victorious against all odds.
Right.
So this is what
Yeah.
the Hezbollah and the Hamas are up against, and it won't end
No.
Until Israel
Yeah.
really has them against the wall.
Do you
They-
see that too?
Yeah, I think we're living in incredible times, like I said before, and I think one thing that we need to be reminded of is that God's sovereignty, that God is in control of all things, and our responsibility as Christians, as Americans, is supporting the nation of Israel. The great promise that is the promise of Abram and Abraham in Genesis 12, verse 3, where it says, I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse him who curses you. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. We must recognize that there is a battle between good and evil in our world. We understand that God is graceful, He is merciful, He is long-suffering, He is patient. He's also a judge as well. And I think that what we're seeing right now is a preparation for what's going to be taking place in the future. Israel has had favor. I believe this is going to get very gnarly for sure. I think that many wars, you guys have both fought in war, been in war. You understand that there's loss of life. It's hard. And with that being said, Israel will win. But what I do think is that...
And they'll learn their lesson too.
Yeah, and what's going to happen is, but the hate is never going to go away.
No.
And that hate that is bred to them from a very young age, 5 years old, to hate the Jews, to hate the nation. It's so crazy when we're talking about the battle of information. I even saw like hashtags there where they label Israel as the new Nazis, which is crazy.
Yeah.
They look at them as
The
this
Nazis,
superior force over them that is oppressing them, and they get people to back up that kind of thought and philosophy. But yeah, it's preparing the way, because as they get victory here in the future, whenever that is, when what happens in Ezekiel 38 and 39,
Yeah.
you're going to see.
Yeah.
We can't just go in with one or two. We need to
No.
go in with the most powerful
Nation.
empires around
Yeah.
Right.
to
Yeah.
come in.
When you talk about the war that's being waged right now and the criticism
Yeah.
that Israel's getting because they're dropping bombs into
Yeah.
Gaza and that hospital that was blown up,
Yeah.
that eventually they found
It
it
happens,
wasn't
yeah.
even as an
Yeah.
Israeli bomb, but they want to make an issue about it because Israel's killing so many innocent.
Right. Yeah.
And I think back, how hypocritical. War is war.
Yeah.
You and I were in
Yeah.
Vietnam. War is war. People die.
Yeah.
And there is collateral
Good and
damage
bad.
always. That's what war
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
That's the result of war. Any war that's ever been fought, there's been collateral
Yeah.
damage. And to win a war, you have to do everything you can to bring it to an end. But the hypocrisy, when 9/11 took place, when the Twin Towers were, let's say, bombed,
Yeah.
5 men,
Yeah.
5. That's all it
5,
took.
that's it.
5 men who really
Who we
had
trained.
no value of
Yeah.
life and no conception of the families that would be affected by the death of 3,000 people,
Yeah.
and flew those planes. Did they care about collateral damage?
No.
Were they worried about hitting the military? That wasn't a military
No.
installation they
Civilians.
had. That was 100% civilians.
Civilians, man.
When they bombed, when they invaded Israel just 18 days ago, were they concerned about meeting up with the military?
Nope.
No. Men, women, old women, raped, killed, murdered, hacked up.
Yeah.
There's eyewitness accounts. There's survivor accounts.
They will never be the same.
Children butchered.
Yeah.
Was that all about not harming the innocents?
Yeah.
But now it is.
Yeah.
I don't know how in the world they have garnered so much support. The Hamas, I don't know how they've garnered so much support here in the United States. Are we that blind? Have people lost?
Satan has his people here.
He has. He has.
Yes.
That's why the way we started out, and I know we're getting close to the end, but people, we need to be on our knees, and we need to be praying, and we need to be in our word, and we need to be in our churches, and we need to be actively involved in these things by preaching the truth, speaking the truth boldly, and not worried about who's going to who's going to approve of you or who's going to criticize you. When you speak the truth, Jesus said, they're going to hate you because they hated me.
And it's kind of weird because I was reading yesterday in Psalms, and the Lord, I put the date and marked it. It said here, it said, "Come with great power, O God, and rescue me. Defend me with your might. Listen to my prayer, O God. Pay attention to my plea. For strangers are attacking me. Violent people are trying to kill me." He says, they care nothing of God. And then he says, but God is my helper. The Lord keeps me alive. He says, may the evil plans of my enemies be turned against them. Do as you promise and put end to them. I will sacrifice a voluntary offering to you. I will praise your name, O Lord, for it is good. For you have rescued me from my troubles and helped me to triumph over my enemies. Lord, give me that. I marked it. Because you think about how right now they're suffering too. Israel's suffering.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The military, they reserves till you're 55, you all go to war, And so what happens now is the way they're going to take the enemy out, because there's a lot of enemies still there, and there's going to be casualties. So the church here, you guys here can pray. To pray, because these people on the street, they're not praying. They're starting trouble. They're allowing Satan to use them to bring down Israel and to say that Israel are murderers when they're not murderers. They're trying to help their people, getting rid of the evil, getting rid of Satan. But the people don't see it that way, and that's the way it is. Any last comments?
I heard this before. You brought this up, Raul, when all this went down, that someone said, because the nation of Israel is much smaller than the United States of America.
Like New Jersey, man.
Right? So the population that was killed in that moment, the 1,400, 1,500 people, would be the equivalent if an attack like this happened, percentage-wise, in our nation, could be from 30 to 40,000 Americans.
Yeah.
Imagine if somebody came here in the west coast of California and slayed 40,000 people.
Yeah.
What would the response be for the United States of America? What would you want it to be? And I think it's important for us to recognize that this is the level of atrocity that happened to the nation of Israel. Therefore, it's garnered a response.
Yeah.
And war is gnarly. It's going to be tough. But this is what's going to take place for the nation. So you pray for wisdom for all of those in the military. You pray for the lives that are there. You pray for our leadership as well.
Big time.
For them to be led by wisdom. Wisdom that comes from God, that God can intervene and grant favor. But at the end of the day, know that God is on the throne.
Yeah.
The Lord has a plan, and stay in His Word to navigate through everything that you see around us.
And there's 50,000 people at the World Series will be 40. Imagine that many people would die.
Yeah.
Like we talked about, 40,000, 50,000 people would die. So to them, numbers is nothing. They have a goal, like you said, they're hateful. They hate Israel. They hate the Jew. To kill babies, I mean, it's just incredible. To cut off their heads, imagine that. And to take their parents, rape them, and then kill them, that's not human. So we want to pray for Israel. We want to pray for those people that lost their wives or kids, whatever it is. We want to make sure that God is on their side, protects, watch over, and that God becomes the winner for sure. Father, I pray in your name, Jesus, that your Holy Spirit would be with us, Lord. Lord, that you set a hedge around Israel, Father. Lord, those out in the battle, Father, protect and watch over them, Lord, for their wives, for their children, their grandchildren, Lord. And Lord, the whole nation to be protected. And Lord, that this evil, saints, brothers and sisters, Lord God, that are there, that they would be totally moved out of Israel and that they would never come back, Lord. And Lord, that you set free Israel that can live there and they can enjoy life. In Jesus' name I pray, Lord. Amen. Thank you for watching today. We'll see you again. God bless.